In the quiet hum of a late autumn evening, where the city lights flickered like distant stars against the Brooklyn skyline, Jack Harlan wiped flour from his calloused hands. He was 38, a single dad with laugh lines etched deep from years of chasing joy in the chaos. His tiny apartment above a corner bistro smelled of simmering herbs and fresh bread, a sanctuary he built from scratch after his wife, Sarah, left them for a life she called bigger. But Jack, he believed the biggest lives were the ones savored slow, one bite at a time. Downstairs, in the heart of his restaurant, Harlan's hearth at a dinner rush had faded to a gentle murmur. Jack's place wasn't fancy, no crystal chandeliers or velvet booths, just scarred wooden tables, mismatched chairs, and walls lined with jars of homemade preserves that glowed amber in the lamplight. It was a spot for locals, tired nurses from the hospital across the street, artists nursing coffees till midnight, families squeezing in for a meal that felt like home. Jack cooked there every night, his broad shoulders moving like metronome over the stove, coaxing flavors from simple things. Potatoes roasted till their skins crisped golden, stews that bubbled low and forgiving like the man himself. Upstairs, in the crook of Jack's arm, little Mia Harlan fussed. She was 2, all chubby cheeks and wild curls, her cries sharp as shattered glass in the still air. Teething again, Jack had rocked her through 100 nights like this, his flannel shirts damp from her tears. "SHH, Peanut," he murmured, his voice a low rumble like distant thunder on a summer porch. "Papa's got you." He paced the creaky floorboards, the city sounds filtering up honks from the avenue, laughter spilling from a bar next door. Mia's wails softened to whimpers, but hunger gnawed at her now, a relentless little beast. Jack glanced at the clock. 8:15. The sitter had bailed again a third time this month. Life as a single dad chef was a tightrope walk, flames leaping on one side, a toddler's needs on the other. He could have called his sister, Ellen, but she was knee-deep in her own world, teaching third grade in Queens. Tonight, it was just them. Jack eased Mia into her high chair by the window, the city lights painting her face in soft blues and yellows. He tied a bib around her neck, the one with cartoon ducks that Sarah had sewn before everything unraveled. "All right, Miss Mia, let's fix this." He moved to the kitchenette, a narrow ribbon of space crammed with pots and a fridge humming like an old friend. From the shelf, he pulled a small jar, his secret weapon, pear puree, simmered slow with a whisper of cinnamon and vanilla from the pot he'd scraped clean that morning. It wasn't store-bought mush, no, this was Jack's recipe, born in the quiet hours after Mia's bedtime, when grief sat heavy but gratitude flickered like a pilot light. He spooned a bit into a bowl, warmed it gentle over the stove. The scent bloomed, sweet, warm, like a hug from autumn itself. Mia reached out, her tiny fists waving like flags in surrender. Jack knelt beside her, airplane spooning the puree with exaggerated whooshes. "Here comes the friendly flyer." And down the runway, a giggle bubbled from her, pure as spring rain, chasing away the last echoes of her cries. One bite, then two, her eyes widened, lashes fluttering like butterfly wings. By the third, she was smacking her lips, leaning forward for more. Jack watched, his heart swelling slow and steady, like dough rising under a cloth. In that moment, the world narrowed to this, a father feeding his daughter, turning tears to trust. But outside, in the cool bite of the night air, another world spun on a different axis. Emily Voss gripped the wheel of her sleek black SUV, idling at the curb below Jack's window. She was 35, heiress to Voss Industries, a empire of tech patents that powered half the gadgets in American pockets. Billionaire, they called her in the glossy magazines. Untouchable. But tonight, Emily felt like glass about to crack. Her own daughter, Leela, strapped in the back seat, wailed with the force of a summer storm. 2 years old, same as Mia, but Leela's cries carried the weight of a life too rushed, too polished. Emily's marriage had crumbled 6 months ago. Her ex, a venture capitalist named Trent, had called it irreconcilable drift. She'd called it betrayal. His affairs splashed across tabloids like ink stains. Now, single motherhood crashed over her like waves on a rocky shore. Board meetings bled into dawn. Nannies rotated like tires on her endless schedule. Leela's tears? They were Emily's mirror, reflecting the hollows under her eyes, The untouched dinners cooling on marble counters in her penthouse. Tonight, desperation had driven her here. A friend at Claire, the nurse from downstairs, had texted, "Harlan's has that pear thing, magic for fussy ones. Swing by." Emily hadn't planned to stop. Her plan was drive-through coffee and home to collapse. But Leela's screams pierced the leather seats, her little body arching in protest. Emily's hands trembled on the wheel. "Please, baby, Mom is trying." She glanced up at the warm glow from Jack's window. The silhouette of a man and child blurred like a painting in fog. Something pulled at her, a thread of longing she couldn't name. With a deep breath, she killed the engine. The door clicked open, cool air rushing in like an uninvited guest. Inside Harlan's hearth, the last patrons lingered over coffee. Jack had slipped upstairs mid-shift, leaving his sous chef, Tommy, a lanky kid with tattoos of whisks on his forearms, to mind the fort. But Tommy waved Emily in with a grin. "Booth in the back? We've got a spot." Leela's cries echoed off the brick walls, drawing sympathetic glances from the few souls nursing slices of apple crumble. Emily slid into the booth, her silk blouse rumpled, diamond earrings catching the light like fallen stars. She bounced Leela on her knee, whispering nonsense rhymes, but the wails only sharpened. Tommy appeared, notepad in hand. "Evening, ma'am. Rough night?" His voice was kind, no judgment, just the quiet empathy of someone who'd seen 1,000 like it. Emily nodded, throat tight. "She's everything hurts tonight." Tommy's eyes softened. "Hang tight. Boss man's got to fix upstairs." "Be right back." Upstairs, Mia had drifted off, puree bowl empty, her breath soft as fallen leaves. Jack eased her into the crib, tucking a quilt around her small form. The apartment sighed into silence, save for the distant clatter from below. He paused at the window, gazing out at the avenue's slow parade, cabs gliding like yellow fish, pedestrians huddled against the chill. That's when he saw her, the woman in the booth, her posture a curve of quiet defeat, the child in her arms a storm of red-faced fury. Jack knew that look. He'd worn it himself, those first months after Sarah left. Nights when Mia's cries felt like accusations, when the weight of justice pressed like a stone on his chest. He grabbed the jar from the counter, extra puree, still warm, and headed down. The stairs creaked under his boots, each step a deliberate choice. Emily looked up as he approached, her green eyes shadowed but sharp. Jack slid into the booth opposite, uninvited but somehow right. "Name's Jack," he said, voice low as a fireside chat. "Heard the little one's got the blues. Mind if I try?" He held out the jar, steam curling like a secret. Leela twisted, curious now, her sobs hiccuping to a pause. Emily hesitated. Strangers didn't do this in her world, a handshakes over deals, not spoons over tears. But exhaustion won. "I'm Emily, and God, yes." "Please." Jack scooped a bit onto a fresh spoon from the table, his movements steady as a heartbeat. "All right, kiddo. Uncle Jack's got the good stuff." He leaned in, making silly face as a cross-eyed wink. "A raspberry blow." Leela blinked, then giggled, the sound fragile as first frost. The spoon met her lips. She tasted, waited. "Thena, oh, Thena." Her mouth opened wide, demanding more. Emily watched, breath caught in her ribs. The puree vanished bite by bite, Leela's fury melting to milky contentment. Jack chatted easy, no prying, just stories of his own Mia upstairs, how she'd once boycotted all food till he pureed strawberries with a dash of balsamic. Turns out, even tantrums need a little sweet and sour. Emily laughed, a real one, rusty from disuse. For the first time in months, the knot in her chest loosened, just a thread. But as Leela dozed against her shoulder, Emily's gaze drifted to the jar, the label, handwritten in Jack's looping script, "Harlan family pear Blisa for the hard days." Something stirred in her, a memory unspooling slow. Pears, her grandmother's kitchen in rural Ohio, the one place Emily escaped to as a girl, before the Voss fortune swallowed her summers. Gran's hands, wrinkled as walnut shells, peeling fruit by the sink, humming hymns while the pot simmered. "Slow, Emmy," she'd say. "Life's flavors come out if you give 'em time." Emily's eyes stung. Gran was gone 5 years now, taken by a quiet heart that gave out midst her. That recipe, pears with cinnamon and vanilla, it was Gran's, whispered over a phone line during Emily's first pregnancy. "For the baby, love, and for you." When the nights get long, Jack noticed the shift, the way her fingers traced the jar's edge. "Hey, you okay?" Emily swallowed, voice barely above a whisper. This tastes like home, like my grand's." "How?" Jack leaned back, surprise flickering in his brown eyes. "Old family trick. Sarah my she got it from her mom in Kentucky, said it was magic for soothing souls." He paused, the air between them thickening like gravy on low heat. Emily's tears came then, silent and hot, tracing paths down her cheeks. Not sobs of sorrow, but release as a deep, aching ones that had bottled up behind boardroom smiles and billion-dollar walls. Jack didn't flinch. He slid a napkin across the table, his hand brushing hers for the briefest spark. "Those hard days, they pass. But the good ones, you hold them close, like this." He tapped the jar. Emily nodded, wiping her face. Leela's soft snores a lullaby in the booth. For the first time, she saw him, not the chef, not the dada, but a mirror. Someone building from broken pieces, same as her. The restaurant emptied, Tommy flipping chairs onto tables with a whistle. Jack walked them to the door, the night air crisp now, stars peeking through cloud wisps. Emily buckled Leela into the SUV, her movements unhurried, deliberate. "Thank you," she said, turning to him, "for the recipe." "For seeing us." Jack shrugged, hands in his pockets, but his smile warmed the chill. "Anytime. Doors always open. Harlan's hearth, it's for hearts like yours." As she drove away, taillights fading into the avenue's glow, Emily glanced in the rearview. Leela slept peaceful, thumb in mouth, the jar tucked safe in her bag. The tears dried on Emily's cheeks, leaving the quiet bloom. Billionaire or not, she was just a mom, hungry for simple magic, and tonight, she tasted it. Upstairs, Jack climbed back to Mia, checking her crib with a father's tender vigil. The city whispered on, but in that small space, peace held sway. He sank into his armchair, the one Sarah had left behind, and let the quiet wrap around him. Life wasn't perfect and never would be, but in the feeding of a crying child, in a recipe that bridged strangers' souls, he found his anchor. Weeks blurred into a gentle rhythm. Emily returned not every night, but enough. First for takeout stew that warmed her through late calls, then for coffee in the booth, Leela playing blocks on the floor while Jack sketched menu ideas on napkins. Conversations unfolded slow, her world of algorithms and acquisitions, his of dough proofs and dawn markets. No rush, no grand gestures, just shared silences, punctuated by laughter when the girls toddled together, Mia offering Leela a wooden spoon like a scepter. One rainy Thursday, Emily arrived soaked, Leela bundled in a rain-slicked coat. "Bad day," she admitted, sliding into the booth. "Deal fell through." "Felt like everything's slipping." Jack nodded, pouring tea from a pot he'd steeped strong. "Slippery days happen, but puree fixed it once." "What's the Harlan cure for grown-up blues?" He grinned, pulling a fresh loaf from the warmer sourdough, crust crackling like autumn leaves. They talked till closing, rain pattering the windows like fingers on glass. Emily shared more about Gran, the pear tree in the yard, gnarled and giving, how she'd promised Leela stories of it someday. Jack listened, really listened, his eyes steady as hearthstones. "Sounds like she built something real," he said. "Not empires. Roots." Emily's hand found his across the table, tentative as a first step. Warmth spread, slow and sure. The twist came gentle. On a crisp November eve, Jack had closed early, Mia napping upstairs. Emily knocked, jar in hand to her own batch, pears from a market stall, simmered with care. "I tried it," she said, cheeks flushed. "For Leela, for me." It worked, but her eyes held more, a vulnerability stripped bare. "Jack, this place, it's the first time in years I've felt grounded." He stepped aside, letting her in. The apartment was small, lived in, toys scattered like confetti, a half-read cookbook on the counter. They sat on the worn couch, Mia's baby monitor crackling soft breaths. Emily leaned in, words tumbling like rain. "I thought success meant more bigger houses, faster wins. But it's this, slow, real." Jack took her hand, thumb tracing her knuckles. "I thought I was just surviving after Sarah. But Mia, she showed me joys in the mess. And now, feels like there's room for more." Their lips met then, soft as the first snowflake, tasting of pears and possibility. No fireworks, just a quiet ignition, the kind that warms from within. Spring unfurled green and forgiving. Emily scaled back and delegated the deals, hired a partner for the grind. She and Leela moved closer, a brownstone 2 blocks from Harlan's, where the girls chased each other in the yard. Purees forgotten for mud pies. Jack expanded the menu. Voss pear tart, credited to a certain green-eyed muse. The restaurant buzzed fuller, whispers of the magic chef drawing crowds. One evening, as dusk painted the sky lavender, Emily stood in Jack's kitchen, apron tied loose. Leela and Mia banged pots in harmony, their laughter a symphony. Jack stirred a pot, Emily beside him, their shoulders brushing like old friends. 2 roots, she toasted, clinking spoons, and new branches. Jack pulled her close, Mia and Leela tumbling at their feet. To the hard days that led here. In that embrace, tears came again, and not of loss, but of fullness. Emily's heart, once a vault of vaults, cracked open wide. And so, in the steady beat of a city that never sleeps, they built their hearth, simple, slow, a recipe for lives intertwined, where a single jar of pears proved that the sweetest twists wait in the quiet corners. What if your next meal held a memory waiting to bloom? Try it tonight. Simmer something slow. Share it with someone dear. You might just taste home.